Hello, welcome back to another episode of T54. My name's Amit, back with Kathy from Cinemondo. How you going, Kathy?
Great, I'm doing great.
Yeah, no, good to hear you're safe.
Yeah, there's a lot of fires here in LA. Trying to avoid them as much as we can.
Yeah, but no, good on you for surviving.
I know, exactly. This was a good movie for that, though, because it reminds me of why I moved here, why I love movies.
Yeah.
It was basically kind of a love letter to movie fans in a way. Like it just, and we'll get into it, but it was actually, even though it was a murder mystery and, it's supposed to be kind of a detective kind of show, the whole backdrop of filmmaking, just love.
Yeah.
I really need
yes. Yeah, now that part of the movie I really liked. We are talking about Rekhachithram. Recently just came. I mean, it's still in cinemas right now, so we just got a chance to watch it. It came in, I would say, we saw the trailer for this and we were pretty excited. The trailer looked good. It definitely didn't touch on, I don't remember touching on that movie part that much. Maybe I can't remember.
Well, the posters hinted because they had the film strips and we were trying to figure it out, like what that was, and now we know.
I guess so. I guess I just didn't think it was so, like, it was actually referencing like real life movies.
It was like, really deep in movies too.
Yeah,
just like
I thought maybe it would just be she wants to be an actress and make it to make it to the world of cinema and stuff like that.
Also
but
true.
That's true. Yeah, very meta in that as well. But to actually reference movies and reference like actors that are currently acting, and one big one.
Doesn't get bigger than that.
No, of course, yeah. And her whole sort of, wanting to become an actor because of Mammootty and following him around, and the whole. It was very interesting. I quite enjoyed this movie. I guess, what were your biggest takeaways from this movie, or what were your overall thoughts to start with?
Well, number one, I love a good meta filmmaking movie. And what I liked about it is it started off, I was kind of like, I got lulled because I don't want to know anything about it. So I just started watching it and I didn't want to know. So I was kind of like, okay, detective, missing woman, they find a body. Yeah. Okay, I get it. And I was a little confused when they said, what movie did you see last night? And the kid's like, I saw this thing happen in a movie, and they were didn't quite understand what that was about. Well, later you find out, but I didn't realize this was going to be so inside filmmaking. And that just like the movie just woke up when that started happening. Yeah. All of a sudden, like we had, like you said, Mammootty makes his appearance a few times. It was actually in there a lot more than I thought. But I really loved the idea that this whole detective story kind of starts becoming enveloped in this filmmaking and this movie they were shooting. I love that idea because that got into filmmaking. It got into the whole fan service and the fans and someone want the dream and the yearning to be in movies and want to be an actress that our main character wanted to be, and it was all really heartbreaking and great, and I just really related to it. So once that started happening, I was like, oh, this is amazing. And the fact it was a real movie that was really shot in 1985, so it did some time jumping. That was amazing. So it got way more complicated and cool than it originally sort of leads you to believe. You think it's going to be just your standard, let's identify this dead body. And then all of a sudden it just kind of goes crazy. So that's why
I definitely agree. Some really good points. I do like how it sort of lulls you into that because I didn't expect that coming into, and it doesn't look like that at the start. It looks like a standard cop movie, right? Because we see Asif Ali playing cop, was it C.I. Vivek, I think it is. Yes, C.I. Vivek. And he's going through some of his own issues at the moment. He's in trouble for, I think, online gambling.
Yeah.
So then we think, okay, fine, it's going to be a a redemption story, and that's what the focus is going to be on, him finding his way again. And the general procedural stuff that we love in Malayalam cinema. Yeah. But then it takes a whole nother level, I think. As we keep watching, we realize, okay, wow, there's actually intertwining two genres that we really like. And one is a police procedural that we like so much, but also there's movies that talk about film and leans into that even more. So as it keeps going, you just starts to enjoy it more and more, and I like how it slowly builds that up. Like the I guess the actress Anaswara Rajan, who's a big upcoming actress, she was great, and she really makes her. I mean, she appears in the first half here and there, but we don't really get to know her backstory until the second half. And the second half is really driven more from that side. In the past, there's a lot of that too, like past, present, present, and what's going on. And it was intriguing, like just to be like following this case, which comes about because of basically a farewell message. A guy basically passes away, and then he, as his final words, he's exposing the crime he committed and opening up this huge case to everyone. So it was really fun. I think there's so much to like about it. I think, from the story was one of the best parts for me was that it kept you engaged, because like every 10 minutes, it seems like we're unfolding a new page or unfolding a new chapter, and it's like, what's coming next? What's happening next here? And that just keeps you going. Like, it was never boring. It was never like stale. I thought that it just the wheels kept moving. Yeah. I made for a very enjoyable movie and very enjoyable experience.
It did, and I also Asif Ali did such a great job of kind of giving us this, because it's a lot. So he really gave us a lot of this kind of flawed character who had a lot to prove, which I liked. So he's trying to really bring this home. So you're really following his journey through it. And I think without his kind of really comforting, I find him very comforting. For some reason, I see him and I just instantly like him. I feel like I'm in good hands. So I was really sympathetic to his whole thing and what was happening. He was they were always kind of like giving him a hard time about, you were caught on online gambling. I'm like, really? Is that the worst thing that can happen to someone there? So that was kind of cool. And just a little bit of his complex, like, he wasn't like, the super straight and narrow, but he was the guy who was going to solve this crime. And I really liked his, and also he looks great in cop uniform. He just does. Totally works. But I really liked him through this, because there was a lot. And especially with like some of these cameos that were kind of a big deal, and he's holding his own in all of this, very complex. Yeah. And, time jumping and trying to figure out where we were and who's who. And again, it gets very complicated. And because it's a film about a film, an old film, it gets very complicated. So we really needed a really good, really charismatic lead to keep us grounded. And he did a great job at that, I thought.
Yeah, no, he definitely does play. He's starting to really like nail this like measured cop or measured performance, where it's nothing over the top. It's very like, toned down. It seems to be working for him. Like this movie, his performance is great. Like it's really good. He, as you said, he's the anchor in the movie. He carries us through. He's the whole way through. And he has, whereas I would say Anaswara, I guess it's the second lead. She definitely has a more dynamic character with a lot more story. That's a lot more dramatic compared to Asif Ali's. Because while there is that whole gambling point, it's not focused that much. Like it comes in here and there.
They just kind of make fun of him sometimes,
they do.
A little reminder that I remember you were that guy, and he's like,
yes. There's some tension here and there, and then he lashes out every now and then, probably rightfully so, because he's getting bullied. But then there's all these other elements with like I guess the owner of the jewelry shop, him trying to cover his tracks, and him having tie-in with the politics. And I think at the start of this movie we said we'd be spoiler light, but we seem like we're getting into a little bit. But hey, this movie has been out for quite a while, so that's all fine. But there's all these other factors that are coming into the story as well, which just add to this boiling pot of like making it so much more interesting. Because every time you're watching, you're like, all right, they're introducing this little facet, pulling you here a little bit, and then we're going back in time. We're seeing Anaswara's story, or the Rekha's basically story, like what's happening with her, and trying to unfold that. That story itself is complicated, and I did like it towards the end how like it all sort of gets together with the police procedural and the like the senior cop or the constable, the one who's like above the Asif Ali and his lead. And he's like, okay, you have all this information, but who is Rekha? Who is she? And that's still a question that we're still like, we don't know who she is. What's her background? What's happening here? And they tie that all together really well at the end. It's not a movie that I'd say has a lot of twists and turns. Like it doesn't shock you at any moment in terms of, oh wow, I didn't expect that, because like everything's kind of laid out to you, but it still kind of works. Like not everything has to be like a shock, like, oh wow, we're getting shocked again. Like it can work without that, and this movie proves that it can. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I enjoyed the fact that there wasn't any shocks. We just followed a very, I guess, complex story from start to finish, but we didn't require any extra pizzazz, and that's exemplified from Asif Ali as well.
That's right. And I consider like maybe it's more layered than twisty turning, because it kept adding context over context, like, her sad home life and how her dad did not agree with her wanting to be an actress and was making, and that she was writing to actors, Mahmoodi especially. It's like, so sweet. And she was obsessed with film. I relate to all of this. And so she's like obsessed, really wanted to be in the movie business, wanted to be in that, arena, was writing to everyone she could think of that she'd see in magazines. I thought that was so sweet. And then when the father finds out, that's when she just like, that's it, I'm out, So it's really sad that she got driven away when it was her passion. She clearly wanted to be in that business. But also, let's talk about the Mahmoodi of it all. So it's about a Mahmoodi movie from 1985 that actually exists. right? It's an actual real movie. So they're depicting the filming of this movie, which is really funny because it's a funny idea. So they have Mammootty. Mammootty is in it, but he's kind of de-aged. I guess it's a body double. I wasn't quite clear on it. So he looks really good. Like it looks good. If you hadn't told me, I would have thought, who is this guy? What is this? Wow, Mammootty's looking really good. Like, so it wasn't distracting at all. Like they used it sparingly, but he appeared a lot throughout as like reminding you that he's the big star in town and they're filming his movie. And I also there's a couple things I like too outside of that is that you can't really talk about Mammootty's performance because he wasn't really in it. So, but I like the extra layers of when the original guy is giving his confession. He goes out in the middle of the woods and does a live Facebook streaming, which was
it Facebook? Was it
Facebook streaming? And then everyone was like, "What?" And so he does a big confession and shoots himself on on camera, I guess, or something. So then we have the YouTuber.
Yes.
Who does these really like not assaulted, but really like hard question interviews, right? Yeah. He's always like sitting outside and he's like real cocky, like everybody's like, oh God, do we really want to be interviewed by this guy? Okay, fine, let's do it. So I like that Mammootty sits down with this guy and he just asks him all these rude questions or whatever. So I like the layers of that because then we're going back to 1985 where there isn't a ton of that. So that was kind of the fun part is like putting in the modern day with the past, like the analog filmmaking versus the digital aspect that was happening. And that wasn't like necessarily a big deal in it, but it just gave you that extra layer again, this context. Yeah. That was kind of cool.
No, you're exactly right. It is very laid in that. Like there's so many different elements that sort of come to play. And that's sort of one of them, again, like the whole Mammootty of it all. Like on Wikipedia, he's listed as Mammootty as himself in brackets AI cameo. So
I don't know what that means. I couldn't
he's himself but AI. Yeah. So I'm like a bit confused with what he's himself, but he's an AI version of himself.
So he's in it, but see, I keep thinking they're talking about de-aging or something. And I wasn't sure if he actually was in it.
Sure, because like I think the only time I really recognized it was him was a voice at the end when he was like his actual voice comes and says, he's reading out the letter. That I think is him. Otherwise, I don't know how much this is him. They'll just use his likeness, so he'll probably get a credit for the movie.
Yeah.
But I did sort of enjoy that how they also tease that aspect too, because I was like, they're not going to show him. Like if he's not going in the movie, they're not going to show him. But then eventually they actually do show us him, and he is.
So funny.
He's sort of a different version of himself. So that was very interesting. But I did also like that.
Yeah, it was very cool. And they had a few real life directors. Like we don't want to ruin all They had some real actors. Like there was just some interesting extra Hollywood of it. Not Hollywood. Mollywood of it. Like they kind of sprinkled in some actual actors playing themselves or directors playing themselves. And that was kind of cool to see that, which is another reason I love the whole meta quality of this. I also like there's really subtle where he sees the girl as the nun. The kind of thing one of the first times we see her. She's in the poster in that white outfit, right?
Yeah.
She kind of comes in and she kind of runs away, and thing he knows is that she's wearing this bracelet on her ankle, like a little anklet. And it was kind of like, that's weird. Nuns don't wear those. So that was kind of the little giveaway that always it seemed. And so that was kind of the running theme is that was kind of who she was. Like that's how you always knew where you were and who she was. And so her jewelry was a big part of identifying her. And so it was sad.
Yeah.
It was very sad because her death was super pointless and random. And that made it even dumber. Like not the movie dumb, the dumb crime of it all. That this huge mystery, this big thing was just this random dumb thing. And you're like, which is technically how all crime is. Most crime is just
true. It is. Like I don't listen to too much true crime as of late, but there was a phase when I know you listen to a lot, but like I listen to like there's a phase where I listen to a lot of true crime for a bit, and a lot of the crimes you would think like, oh, why did they do this? It's so complex. What's the reason? And it turns out to be a bunch of kids were they're obsessed with the concept of killing people, and like okay. That's really odd. Like that like as much as movies like to glorified and become like something really big, a lot of the times it is as simple as this. Like yes, okay, there's a chance for us to get rich and make a better life for ourselves. We're going to take it by taking out somebody, and then the guilt is going to come later on. So that is very true. I like the realness of this. This crime, which is unfortunate. It wasn't this big
plot. Like oh my god, we're gonna find out what happens. No, it was just these stupid people doing a dumb, terrible, cruel thing, and And then that was it, which is like, I mean, I see true crime where some guy got killed because some guy owed him $60 and never paid. So he killed the guy. I'm like, really? You're going to kill a guy for $60? So yeah, that's kind of what it is. So, and also I like the fact they had some really good female characters in it. I mean, the main protagonist was great. She was great. The, what was her name? I forget.
The nun that's a friend?
Yeah. We had a few names. There were some double identity things, so it gets a little confusing. But yeah, there was just a few actresses that were really good. The main actress was great, and then the kind of side characters. They didn't just leave the women out of it, is what I'm saying.
No, exactly. No, they had a big part to play. I mean, like Rekha's the main sort of character there, but like they also introduced a sister at the end, the mother at the end.
Yes.
Like the other character I really liked, and the dynamic I liked actually really, which surprised me, was the friendship between the real life nun and the Rekha. Those two characters really played well with each other, and they developed this like unique sort of friendship which came out of nowhere, which then unfortunately led to this whole misunderstanding, basically, because she's been living with like this anger towards this person who was not responsible for anything, right? Like they put the blame on her for basically stealing everything when it was not the case at all. So like they had a lot of different characters in this, and that's again this adds to what makes this movie unique. Like it's hard for when I saw this, instantly my mind went to Kishkinda Kandam. Like, I don't know why it did, because of just maybe it's the Asif Ali of it, the mystery of it, the crime of it, maybe
the buried body that they find.
The buried body. Yes. So it was like, okay, fine. So is it going to be something similar like that? Are we going to get some kind of twist?
So you kind of sit back, like, I know what this is. And you're like, wait, what's happening?
Yeah, no, it's completely different. It's a very different movie altogether. But yeah, I would say this movie is, I don't know if it's as good. That movie was kind of mind blowing, but this movie holds its own. Like
I really liked it.
It's nothing to, I'm not throwing shade on it by saying it's not as good as Kishkinda Kandam or anything like that. I think it's a very good movie that's very unique and does something quite different, which I really appreciated. So I'm really good with this one. The only parts that I think I want to talk to you about this one a little bit. Like only parts that had some, like, I guess these are really, you could even say nitpicky like criticisms, is like sometimes like from the police element, they seem like they would like demote Asif Ali and they wouldn't follow up on it. Like they would do things like, you'd be like, Asif Ali, okay, Vivek, like, yes, and you've solved this, it's, the crime has come to this point, we're giving it to the crime branch, you're being demoted to, I don't know if it's a demotion, but you're being transferred to the traffic police or whatever. And it's like, oh damn. And the next thing he's like, yeah, cool. He's just like on his own, like, driving down to like different places. I'm like, weren't you meant to be on traffic duty? Like what happened here?
I think he was just so obsessed. I feel like he was doing that on his own time. And that's like, he's like, I may not officially be the detective on the case, but I still want to find out what happened. Like, because he feel like he knew he's the only one that could figure it out. So he's that passionate cop who can't just let it go.
Yeah, definitely. No.
Even with a broken arm, he's going to keep going.
Yeah, that's the other part about this. Yeah, they try and take him out. That's like, there's just so many parts of this movie. There's just like a lot. But that was the only thing that I could think of. Also, like the tension between, there's like a really small scene when like the other cops come in and they're really arrogant and they're making fun of him and being like, oh, okay, aren't you the gambling cop? How's your rummy going and all this? And they come in and there's one scene in the bathroom, and after that, it's like never again. It's like
we're done with that.
Yeah, it's like we're done with that. So. These are really minor things. Like I think they're using, but I was just like, is there going to be more tension between him having to, fight the authorities to get the job done?
Yeah.
But they didn't do that too much.
They didn't.
It's a really minor. It's really minor. I wouldn't even say it's criticism, because like I didn't need any more. Like this movie already had so much in it. You don't need to add. At some point, you got to sort of stop. So
you got to stop. I also like, there was a funny little scene that I wrote it down because it just made me laugh. It was not a big deal, but he walks in and he's talking to some guy and he goes, "Oh, you're the guy to convince Mahmoodi to shave his head."
I like that.
I just thought that was funny. I don't know why, but it was like, that's where they kind of bring it back to the behind the scenes aspect of it. I was like, oh, that was good. I like that.
I'm sure like because we ourselves like even though I have seen quite a few of the old movies, I've not seen the ones mentioned in this movie here. So it'd be good to actually take a look back and see if there's
that would be fun to watch the one that they were filming. Actually, would be fun.
They kept mentioning the movie Katkore, Katoram. I think that's a movie. I don't know. I've not heard much about this. 1985. So this must have been an early Mammootty movie. And he looks, I mean, from the de-aging,
he looks so young.
Super young. So again, us even getting access to this might be a challenge.
Oh yeah, true. Because with subtitles. Yeah.
It's that old with subtitles. But
very true.
Yeah, it was it was just that's the other part that I wanted to mention as well. I did enjoy how it took us back to 1985 film sets as well to show us what that is like, and to give us the perspective of somebody, as like a what you call this, a junior artist. So to give us the perspective of somebody like an upcoming artist, and to see just that world. This movie's not like a period piece, but because of that aspect, it does take you back in time a little bit to be like, oh, okay, nice. This is a nice little touch. So
it was a nice little touch. Cool. And they filmed it a little bit differently. Like it seemed like you always knew where you were because the palette, like it felt a little older, like a little warmer, like not grainier necessarily, but just felt a little aged, like a little bit warm. Whereas present day just felt like a little bit more normal, 4-color, a little sharper. I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah. Nice touch. Good job, guys.
Definitely. It wasn't over the top, but you could definitely tell. Mostly, I mean, the costume design helped a lot. Whenever we saw her in a nun outfit,
that's true.
It was basically
that did help.
We knew that she was back in time, and I guess her character almost lived. It exclusively lived, except for the skeleton, back in 1985, essentially. Yeah. So a lot to like about this, to be honest. Really
and a very touching ending.
Very touching ending. It is a sad movie, but it is sad, but it's not. I guess it doesn't make you feel like it's not a movie that I feel like crying at the end or something like that. No. Like it was a sad movie, but I think they did it justice with the points that the trinket, giving it back and things like that, and showing the happiness and sort of moving on. You got to see the family that's moved on.
Yeah.
From the death and all that. So they didn't dwell in that too much, which I liked as well. It was more, the procedural part was probably the high. That's the main genre, and then aside from that, probably the crime element. There wasn't too much, I guess, sadness in that point as well. But it was a really nice movie. If you haven't seen it yet, I would really recommend to watch this movie. I think it's officially the first 50 crore movie of the year. So it is doing quite well.
All right. That's good.
In the box office. So that's really good. Asif Ali, back-to-back movies that have made a lot of money. That's really good for him because he struggled for a long time to get movies to really be successful. But hey, if you've seen it, please let us know your thoughts. We'd love to chat with you guys. And thanks a lot, Kathy. I appreciated your input for this. This was a really fun one.
It was.
And we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Bye.
See everyone. Bye.